Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Buck Stops Here. I am Catherine Murray. Well, it is a very, very busy day in the markets today. This, of course, is the morning after the Trump tariff rollout. So we are filming this on April the 3rd. And the Dow looked to be opening down by about 1,200 points. So a significant move to the downside here. Let me bring in our guest for today. It's Danielle Dimartino Booth. She is the CEO and Chief Strategist at QI Research. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us. I know what it's like on a morning like this. You've got 1,000 clients calling you. So thank you for taking some time with us today. What are they saying to you and what are you saying to them?
So there is obviously an overabundance of fear right now in the marketplace. And I think the unfamiliar territory, if you will, is that there are outsized losses in US markets. And so we've grown so accustomed in the last few years to this idea of American exceptionalism and the US markets outperforming those of the rest of the world that I think this is a bit of a reality check for American investors, especially.
And so when we think, well, I guess bottom line, though, the words that have been used up until yesterday, April the 2nd, was uncertainty. That's almost a bit of the strategy that people were employing. And with that uncertainty, saw a lot of money flow moving into Europe. People thought that we'd get some clarity, but there's many strategists out there saying today that, yes, we got some clarity, but it's worse than the worst case scenario. And there's a lot of unknowns still in terms of what this will do to the global economy. Will we see a recession globally and also in the United States? What are your conversations like surrounding that key question?
Well, of course, I think the one subject that's being under discussed, if you will, is global trade. And in 2019, we had global trade contract for the full year, and that was indeed sending the world economy into recession. We are still a cyclically led global economy, even though we lean more towards services as a world. But cyclicals still matter. And when you've got an industrial recession, and it spans the entire globe, that's highly problematic. To give you but one example that's very simple, S&P, JP Morgan S&P has a global PMI, a global purchasing managers index. And we've seen export orders in that data series contract for 34 out of the last 37 months. So the rest of the world, unlike 2018, 2019, has been feeling the brunt of declining global trade for some time now. So, if you will, what's occurring now with the rollout of these new tariffs is something of a pile-on effect.
hmm So when you step back then, and we should maybe unpack this a little bit more in terms of, what the administration's long-term goal is. They really are trying to bring back production to America. And they believe that, number one, that will benefit America's growth. Number two, the tariffs will act as a bit of a tax, a revenues generating stream, which will in fact allow the U.S. to lower taxes. What do you make of their strategy?
Well, I would only give this small bit of humble advice. The Trump tax cuts last time around were so costly that they more than offset the increase in tariff revenue that we saw. And so, if we're going to be very serious about revenue generation coming from tariffs, there's going to have to be more fiscal discipline than what's being contemplated right now, because there are two different sides here, right? Revenue and expenses. And just the $5 trillion that would be added in the next few years based on extending those Trump tax cuts, which are due to expire at the end of 2025, will be plenty costly. So I'm not so sure that this revenue math is adding up. And as you said, we still have not seen all of the details. We've got yet another deadline coming of May the 3rd for what's going to be happening with auto parts with Canada and Mexico, which is obviously a crucial factor here.
Right. I was reading a note this morning that basically said that there's going to be such significant demand destruction just with the added costs per vehicle. The cost should go up maybe by 15 to 20% potentially, 5 to 10,000 for the average consumer. So certainly costly, but it seems as though this is part of a bigger plan again to bring back production to America. Are there any positive thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's certainly a positive eventuality there, but we're talking about capital intensive projects here that really take years to construct and build and get up and running. And that's where I think the cooler mind of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent steps in.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.